Playing football, I've always had back issues and I believe it was not from actual football, but I believe it was through the years of the heavy weightlifting. Ever since I was a little kid, football was my life. Starting at Johnny Bright at Metairie, Louisiana. In fact, everybody remembers Coach Al Scaramuza. He was my the crawfish guy. He was my coach. And then from there, I went to Archbishop Rummel High School, and then that led to college at LSU. After I graduated LSU, I moved back to Metairie, Louisiana, and after a couple months, I realized I started having lower back pain. You know, anybody that has any issues is going to Google anything. So the first thing that popped up to on Google or that I researched was one of the biggest things is your mattress, your air mattress. And so I spent well over thousands and thousands on mattresses, but that didn't resolve anything. My next step was chiropractic. I had talked to friends that had back problems. They said, "Oh, you got to go to a chiropractor." But at the severity of the pain that I had, it just wasn't working out for me. And so I went to a pain specialist, and I started doing the steroid epidural injections. Once again, I go to another step of dry needling. Unfortunately, at this point, nothing has worked. And so I relied on calling my old trainer, Jack Marucci, who's the head of LSU Physical Therapy. And he said, if you were at LSU after the chiropractor, you would have had the surgery a long time ago. As soon as he walked in the door, we clicked. And he kind of knew where I was coming from because he also played sports his whole life as well, playing tennis at LSU. Once I showed him my MRIs, he already knew what was causing everything. And I said, "Are you serious?" I said, "I've been dealing with this and seeing physical therapists, chiropractors, and dealing with this, for 7 years, but the last 3 years was the most excruciating." He automatically knew where he had to make the incision, and he told me, once I do this, you're going to be 100%. And when he told me that, that's when we made the decision to go ahead with the procedure. Of course, the day of the surgery, my mom and my dad were, still freaking out because they're old school, still hearing all the horror stories. But fortunately, Dr. Shamia made him feel a lot comfortable and promised him that everything was going to be okay. And personally, Dr. Shamia made me feel comfortable. The way he talks to you, he doesn't talk to you like a normal patient. He treats you as if you're one of his family members. After waking up after the surgery, of course, you still have all the medication running through you, but I knew right at that moment that the shooting, excruciating pain going down my left leg was gone. And at that point, I knew it was a miracle, but not really a miracle. That's just what Dr. Shamia does. Before the surgery, the furthest that I could extend my leg would be at this position right here. And that's when all the pain was shooting down my lower back to my ankle. But right after surgery, I had full extension with no pain in the lower back. Every year, I train or run for the Crescent City Classic. Nobody sees a 290-pound or 300-pound offensive lineman doing long distance, but I'm set out to beat my old time, and that's thanks to Dr. Shamia.